swords.
Take this time to consider your past deeds.
Stop asking questions. You had your chance. Let the games begin.
Hello and welcome, Visionaries, to Velen's Chosen episode 22. We are here this week just hanging out. We got Andrew Brown.
What's up?
Eve Martin.
Hi.
And Rob May is myself. So this week we're going to be
someone's
discussing...
awkward, huh?
Yeah, well, this is the Awkward Show. You're welcome. Welcome back to Exodar.
You
joining
show
us.
name.
So we have a really... Well, let's just back up. So today's show, we're going to be doing what we normally do, where we're going to talk about stuff with budget players in mind. We're going to keep you guys kind of on the loop with what the meta is, what decks are strong, and then maybe giving you some alternatives for how to play a little bit better every month. But we want to make sure that you guys don't feel pressure to go and like spend your life savings on Hearthstone. So as we do this, Andrew and I have been prepping for a very specific topic this week, but it ended up not going kind of the way we wanted to. So we're going to spend a little bit more time in our introduction stages of the show trying to figure out what happened with us all three on the ladder this week.
I think sometimes that happens, right? You get excited about a deck and you want to play it and you think it's going to be great, and then it just totally bombs and you're like, okay, next.
Not so much. Yeah.
Next plan.
Yeah.
Moving
exactly. on. So,
for
Eve,
me,
or Andrew, sorry. Andrew was going to start us off. With this one. What happened with you on the show?
Well, for me, it was my first week back in Hearthstone, like playing it like I used to, and I've got to say that 3 weeks off actually did a lot of good for me. It took me about 3 days to climb from 11 to rank 5, and that's not playing full time or anything. So that's just in the shadows. So I played Secret Pally up to 6, and then I played Aggro Shaman up to 4, and now I bounced back down to 6. But met my goal of trying to hit that high rank.
It's good, right?
And the biggest part about it was during my time I learned I don't really... It doesn't affect me if I lose. Like, I need to let it not affect me. That's the best way to put it. And so it's been a lot easier when I lose to say, okay, they had a better hand than me, whatever. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to try to get better this next time. So for a guy who has struggled with the strongest of tilts, it was good. It was really good.
I'm
and
so
not to say
happy
I
for you,
have-
Andrew.
but-
When you were talking about getting excited about playing Lightning's deck, to me it sounded like the happy was back in you. Like you were happy to play Hearthstone again. You were excited about decks again. That's awesome.
Andrew's not a depressed Hearthstone player anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good thing. So,
I took that role this week, let me tell you.
Yeah, you had a rough time, Rob.
I cannot rank 9.
Did you try Aggro Shaman?
I've played the most games with that deck.
Did you try Secret Paladin?
I did not.
There you go. That's your problem.
I
See,
played one game with it and I'm lost with it.
I was reading Twitter because I try and keep up with all the different Hearthstone people that I follow, and Disguised Toast, who I love, he's so hilarious, had this only 3 days left to hit Legend, might have to resort to drastic measures, and there's a picture of SpongeBob with Secret Paladin card. It says, I need it. I'm like, yeah. Every once in a while you just gotta crack and go. It used to be Face Hunter. It used to be, I'll just play it for a little while. I'll just rank up for a little bit, and then I'll go to another deck that's like, I don't feel so guilty playing. And now Secret Paladin is that deck. When you play it, you know it's going to get results.
I just kind of not cared this month.
You don't always feel great playing it.
I played 10 games over the course of 2 days because the first day that I played, I lost 4 games in a row. And then I went to the next day, and I lost 3 more in a row. And then I played another deck and somehow won, really close match. and then I lost 2 more in a row. So I went 1-9, and rage quit my computer pretty hard. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that is rough.
and I have the
Rightfully so.
records to prove it. I've been keeping track of all of my stats because I normally play better when I keep track of my stats. And if you want to check out how I actually did this month, my overall win rate is 54%. And I've played 27 games with Aggro Shaman, 12 with Standard Druid, 13 with Patron, 7 with a Weird Tempo Mage, 6 with Zoolock, and 1 with Reno Warlock, and then a couple mixed games around rank 10 that I didn't keep track of, or rank 15, so like a random Secret Pally game. And Zoo and Standard Druid are at 50%, and Aggro Shaman is at 52, and Patron dropped me down to 46. So I'm sitting at rank 10 and I think like 1 or 2 stars right now.
That's rough. I know I've said it before, but nothing's more frustrating than giving your all and not getting the results that you want, and you're exhausting yourself with everything possible. So I'm with you. It sucks.
Did
Some
you
months are
try
like
and take
that.
a little time out and play Tavern Brawl?
I did. The Tavern Brawl this week was absolutely fantastic.
I really enjoyed it.
So let's actually, do you guys want to just discuss about Tavern Brawl for like 5 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
Well, Eve, do you want to say how your ladder was real quick?
Yeah. Let's hear from your
I'm
ladder
at rank
first.
5 with 3 stars. About 3 times I was rank 5 with 5 stars and just needed 1 more win to get me to 4, but then I'd lose 2. And then I'd get back up and need 1 more win and I'd lose 2. So I haven't quite cracked into 4 yet, but I'm at 5 with 3 stars right now.
And what was the decks that you were playing this week?
Aggro Shaman and Secret Paladin.
Okay. I may have
And
to
the
go
funny
back
thing
to
is,
Aggro
whenever I
Shaman.
play Aggro Shaman, it seemed like I saw tons of Zoo. So I had to really figure out how to win against my worst matchup.
Yeah, those are
But
tough.
then as soon as I switched to Secret Paladin, all I saw was other paladins
Or priests.
and mages.
Oh.
I'm like, why didn't I see these when I was playing Aggro Shaman?
Yeah, that's what happened to me every time. Like, okay, let me back up. I played 2 or 3 games mirror match with Druid, and my Druid deck is basically tailored, or was tailored. I have thus changed my deck list, but it was tailored against anything that ran a weapon because I was running Lotheb and Harrison. So I could beat the Aggro Shamans into the ground because I would just take away their Doom Hammers. And
key.
I queued into the mirror match 3 games in a row and lost all 3 of them. And it was just, I was like, okay, I'll switch decks. I'll play X, Secret Pally, or I'll play Aggro Shaman. And I queued into Priest and lost. And I switched back to Druid and I went into the mirror match and lost again. I was like, I can't do this.
You inherited my luck.
And I
Rob.
don't switch that many decks. Like, it sounds like I played a lot of decks this week, but I literally only wanted to play Reno to, like, test it and play it again because I've never played it like that much because I hate it. And then I played most of my ladder with just, like, Zoo and Patron and Aggro Shaman and Druid. I've kind of, like, played, like, 3 or 4 decks. But, ugh.
I came up against a player with a legend card back who was playing a weird rogue that had their Van Cleef. Had Van Cleef in it, and it was kind of maybe looking a little bit like Miracle Rogue.
Well, Van Cleef is in oil.
Is he in oil?
Yeah.
Huh.
You play, like, Deadly
They
Poison,
ended up getting him
Prep.
out as a 10-10.
Yeah, you can do it on, like, turn 5. You can get him into a 10-10. It's like Deadly Poison, Prep, Eviscerate, Deadly Poison, Van Cleef, or something silly.
They Harrisoned my Doomhammer and ended up having to burn cards because Doomhammer has so many.
Yeah.
They actually burned their Dr. Boom, which no idea why it's in that deck.
Dr. Boom is an oil. I don't know why you
Yeah?
had Harrison, but maybe
Yeah.
it's to
Well, maybe
counteract
because they'd come up against
Secret
a lot of
Pally.
either Secret Paladin because they have a couple weapons
Yeah.
and Aggro Shaman as well,
Yep.
which is the most important weapon. So maybe that was a tech card for them. But yeah, they ended up drawing a lot of cards. They did not need their sprint.
Well, I burned 2 of my cards when I was playing Druid against this, Shaman, and I took out his Doomhammer for 6 cards. But after I burned it, I was like, I don't even care if I burn 4 cards. I just beat him because it's what happened. I won. I got rid of his Doomhammer, and he couldn't do anything. So
Yes, you do need 2. Because then as soon as they break it, you're like, ha-ha, second one!
yeah, and then you're overloaded for 2 and sad.
I still beat you.
All right, so let's talk about Tavern Brawl for a little bit. Let me.
Yeah, it was sick.
You know, I'm going to say, oh, sorry, I'm talking over your sound effects. The really fun thing that I found about Tavern Brawl was that I follow a bunch of people on Twitter, and so many people were like, this is the best deck for Tavern Brawl this week. It's broken. And they were all different classes.
Yep.
Like, everyone was like, this is so broken, and it was a paladin, and this is so broken, and it was a druid, and it was like, I think that's so
Did all of
awesome
them revolve around either
What,
like
Andrew?
questing adventurer or a Mally Ghost combo, probably?
What is it?
And I had a deck that I have not seen from anyone else, and I came up with it immediately once I saw it, and it won me my first game. So
So
I did the
what
same
did you
thing.
use?
it was good. The key card is Alex Straza, right? If you have that, then you're
Huh.
looking good.
I won
But
without Alex Strauss. That's crazy.
Whenever I do the Tavern Brawls, I'm always looking at the classes that I have really low on XP, which now the only ones I don't have at level 60 are Shaman and Rogue. So I was like, I'm going to try a Rogue deck because I remembered they've got the Undercity Valiant, which can combo to deal 1 damage. So I was like,
Huh.
oh, that might be interesting. And Fan of Knives is really good too. So it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
Fan's
there's a couple
amazing.
tools at least. And
Fan of Knives
I
is
ended up.
oh my gosh, a new
I ended
Barak.
up-
Infinite
And I
value.
ended up having a Nubarak, Kel'Thuzad, and I got Alex Straza early.
Oh my
Shadow
gosh.
Pan Rider is also really good because you can make him a 6/1 or a 4/1.
Did you use Unearthed Raptors?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Dark Iron Skulker is another great one also.
Oh my gosh, rip.
You just have
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh,
of
yeah, he
AoE.
is good.
So
I didn't even think
in
about that.
Cold Blood, yeah, Arc Thief or Fum. So anyway, Anubarak was really fun to play because you ended up being able to actually use him. You'd get another dude on the board, play him again, keep going. So
Dang. See, I won with like Knife Juggler and 2 of the Stormwind champions.
Oh, Stormwind
really?
Champion is a real
And then I was playing
team player in that
Mage,
game.
and I had my opening 2 turns. I can't remember what my first turn was, but I do remember. You know what? I was going second, and my first turn was like Sneeds, Coin, Kodo. Stampeding Kodo, removed his card, and I played Sneeds. And then I traded Sneeds in, and I got something ridiculous like Aviana. And then like I was
Which-
like, okay, that's fine. And then I played Kel'Thuzad from my hand. And I was like, it doesn't honestly matter what I play now. And then
Well, yeah, but Kel'Thuzad's still a 1/1.
yeah, but
but
he
it doesn't
can
matter.
bring
If
back-
it's that one turn, I can recycle my whole board.
Yes, that's true. I had a game where I had Ragnaros out on turn 1.
Gosh.
8 straight to the face.
Smork.
And I put a bunch of cards in my deck. I don't know if this was a good idea or not, but things that do damage right away, like do 1 damage to something, do 2 damage to something, so that you could snipe off the other team's. What is it? It's not Dark Iron Dwarf. Well, what is it? Is it the Hunter? Do 2 damage to a minion, and there's another one that does 3 damage to a minion. A Battle Cry.
I don't remember. I know that there's like a
There's a bunch
there's
of-
a dwarven rifleman or something like that. That's a
Yeah,
basic
yeah.
card. He's a 4/2 normally.
Oh, Ironforge
Rifleman. Yeah.
Yeah. There's him, and then there's the elf, and then there's another one. There's 3 different ones that all do a battle cry of at least 1 or 2 damage when they
Oh,
come out.
Stormpike
So you
Commando.
Hmm?
He's the 4/2 Stormpike Commando.
could-
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
And then, of
Stormpike
course,
Commando,
there's
Ironforge
the,
Rifleman, and Elven Archer.
Then there's the big one that does 4 damage when it comes out, the battle cry.
Oh yeah, that card. It's crazy. That's the Kraken.
Yeah. So I just got all of the ones with the battle cry of doing damage when they come out so that I could immediately get rid of the other team's, like, Kel'Thuzad or whatever
Sure.
big thing that they had out.
Even Flame Juggler's good.
Yep.
Oh yeah, totally.
What else? Yeah, I just threw every legendary that I owned in there just for fun
Yep,
because
that's what I
he
did.
asked them right away. Archthief for Fom, not good though.
No.
I
He's
like
not as
Thought
good
he'd
as
be
you
good,
might
and then I
think.
was like, oh, but his spell is still 10 mana to
Yeah.
cast, so probably not going to last
It,
that long.
the only thing that I found useful about it was that when the game lasted a long time, and you tend to get all of your cards out of your hand, you've got one big bomb to just hold on to, and if your opponent's got nothing, then you're good.
Yeah.
Yep. I played against a druid that was just like straight buff cards, and I was like, "This is interesting." And I was like, "I don't think this guy's gonna win because I can just play
That's not- yeah.
Stormwind Champion
Yeah.
like over and over and over again." And then I don't remember what other cards I had. Like
Luckless
Arcane
Champion is
Missiles
good.
and Arcane Explosion are just like freaking stupid, like so much damage. Muckless Champion is so good.
Yeah.
You're right.
I went up against a warlock who played that the demon that when you do damage on your turn, it gets plus. What is it? Plus 2.
Oh,
plus 2,
Floating
plus
Watcher.
Floating Watcher.
Yeah, that one.
That guy's good.
Yeah, there was just like I love these brawls that make you think and look at cards in a completely different way.
I wonder if there's
Apparently,
a
there
card
was
that
some
like
Mally Ghost
you
decks
could
out
make that
there.
would do this permanently, like a battle cry, kind of like Mistcaller. Everyone's cards cost 1 and are 1/1. All minions or whatever. That would
I
make a really
had a
interesting
druid
strat.
deck that I used Power of the Wild because it was give your minions +1/+1. What else?
Lots
Oh,
of different
yeah.
ways to play
Questing
this one. I think
Adventurer
that's
is
why it
pretty
was so good.
Yeah.
There was a combo that somebody did against a streamer that I saw. Was I can't remember which turn. I think it was actually turn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's turn 6, turn 5 or 6. You play Malygos, Velen, Faceless Manipulator on Velen, Faceless Manipulator on Velen, Mind Blast for 40.
Yeah.
It's
Not
like,
bad.
whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just dead.
But I mean, if you've got the cards in your hand for that and you've been able to survive until then, you know, I have no problems with you pulling off a combo like that. I'd be like, good job.
Pretty freaking cool though. Like
Good
that
job.
guy's the boss. All right, so
A
let's
lot of
jump
people using
into
Justicar.
Justicar.
Yeah. I saw quite a few
To
people
get
using
value
Justicar.
from your
Yeah,
power.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump
Illidan?
into the main stuff. I think we got covered Tavern Brawl pretty well. We're gonna
He
talk
just
about
wants
some.
to talk about all the pretty cards.
We're gonna talk
And
about some
Hogger.
weird decks.
I actually used Hogger.
Dude, Hogger's so good. All right, there you got me
Okay, I'm
excited.
done talking about it. All right,
All right.
I'll let it go.
So we'll talk about discount decks of the week this week.
What a contraption!
Isn't she scrumptious? She's my revolutionary, non-pollutionary mechanical wonder.
Okay, so Andrew, why don't you give our audience like what happened with it this week?
Yeah. We had planned on talking about Patron, and then Rob and I were like, Patron is not fun right now. Let's not do that. So Patron is very strong, so don't get me wrong. But man, the meta we've talked about before is at a place where there's so many viable different decks and people are being so unique with it that it's really hard to just pick one. So we thought that with all the different decks that we were playing this week, we could talk a little bit more in depth about them and kind of hopefully stoke your creativity as far as what you want to play. Because I think all of us can agree that there wasn't any point where it was really obvious what we needed to be playing. And at different points in the ladder, you're going to run into different walls, and you know you're going to have to change it somehow. But sometimes you just don't know how. So with only a day or two left in the month, it's kind of time to either try hard or have fun. So
Yeah,
we're going to give
exactly.
you the tools you need to do either one of those.
So I'll probably end up like what Eve said. I'll either play like 10 matches with Aggro Shaman, see how it goes. If I go positive, like 60% or more overall, then I'll keep playing it. If I don't, then I'll just switch to Secret Paladin and grind until I hit 5. I have a tournament on Saturday that's pretty big. It's a $15 entry, or $5 entry fee, but it's going to be pretty big. And the winners of Saturday go on to a $300 prize pool on Sunday and play again. So we'll see. I had a really bad luck this week and really good luck last week, so it was like two horrible swings. But let's just there's 2 deck lists that we put into the show notes if you want to try playing Patron. I played 13 games with it. Andrew, how many did you end up playing with it?
With Patron,
Yeah.
2.
2, okay.
And the first was against a Face Warrior where I didn't have a chance. So
Yeah. So the reason that we were going to discuss Patron Warrior was it actually does really, really well overall against Secret Paladin, if you know what you're doing, and you're playing the right cards at the right times, and you know what the mulligan stages are, right? So there's 2 lists. Robert Wing put one up that runs Murgleton and 2 Frothing Berserkers in it, and 2 Unstable Ghouls. And then Archon Orange just put out a list like 2 or 3 days ago, and his list actually runs Monkeys instead of Frothings, and then runs 1 Ghoul, and I can't remember what the other weird change was.
What are you Murgleting for?
You want the ping so that you can create more
Murgleting
patrons.
done.
And then if you don't get a ping, you
okay.
want the Warlock Hero Power to keep drawing. So those are what you're going for with Murgleton. The problem with the deck is one of 2 things are going to be your biggest gatekeepers for playing. If you don't have Boom, it's already going to be a lot harder. If you don't have Grommash, it's going to be pretty tough, because Grommash is really, really critical to having he's a single card win condition.
he's a finisher.
Yeah, he's basically how you win most of your matchups. And then, I did write down a few substitutions. The other card that's kind of a situational card that you could or could not include would be the Corcoran Elites, which are 4/3 warrior basic cards that are charge. So, yeah, let's just go through this and double check that. Sorry, I had a thing come up with my background. I have to make sure that doesn't come up again. The biggest 2 gatekeepers are going to be Grommash and then Adventure Wings. So if you want to play the monkey list, you have to get Eloise Wing 2, Nax Wing 2,
That's
Nax
League of
Wing 4.
Explorers.
Yeah, so you need League of Explorers, Wing 2 for the Fierce Monkey. You need to beat, let's see, all of the bosses in Wing... No. You need to beat Lotheb for Wing 2 of Nax, and then you need to beat all of Nax to get the class challenges to get the Death's Bite, and then you need to beat the first wing of Blackrock Mountain for Grim Patron. So if you don't have like all of these adventures, this deck could be pretty expensive for you to have to like pay for, as it were, or get with gold.
Is Grommash absolutely essential?
You can. It's just going to make your deck a little bit weaker without him, because he like Rob said, is a big win condition. You want as many win conditions as you can in there, and he takes it further. Yeah,
he's basically a 10 to 12 damage instant play for 1 to 2 mana.
Are there any possible substitutions for him? Like,
the only things I could think up were
Leroy?
replacing it with Leroy, an Argent Commander, or a Gorehowl, or a Kel'Thuzad. Like, those are the only things I could think of.
Those are all not bad options, especially Gorehowl. I mean, being able to just do 7 damage out of nowhere, that might be enough to clinch you the game.
Yeah, the biggest issues I have with these substitutions is they don't synergize with what you're trying to do already, which is what Grommash does. So Grommash, if you want to do it as a win condition and you want to replace him as a win condition, you need to replace him with Gorehowl or Leroy or an Argent Commander or Kel'Thuzad. And then if you want to just replace it with another way to kind of maintain what you're working with, you play maybe a second Corcoran or another Corcoran Elite, and then you can play like a Brawl to kind of get back the board. But those are the only things I can see. And then Tempo Storm has another list that Lightning Ruler's talking through that runs a super weird patron list that they included like a Raging Worgen and Charge and Rampage for like another win condition.
Yeah, that's an old one.
But that's like 3-card win condition, whereas Grommash is 1.
Yeah.
And if you win with it, it's awesome, but it's more of like old school Math Warrior is what that
Grommash,
was.
you usually want to ping him, right? Like, he's not just the win condition on his own. You want to enrage him.
Well, Grommash has got 3 different functions. He's either a 4 damage charge board clear, a 4 damage charge body to hit him in the face that forces your opponent to deal with. He can be a 12 damage source or a 10 damage source if you have like Whirlwind or Inner Rage or a Taskmaster. So
Yeah.
those
14.
are your things.
Like you kind of want to ping him when you put him out. That's
Usually
ideal.
speaking. I would say the most function I get out of him is usually clearing something that's fairly large with his body, and then killing a lot of other stuff on the board. But more often than not, your best win condition is Outlast with Armor Smiths is how you beat Seeker Paladin. That's your best matchup. And then your worst matchups...
See, that's what I was thinking, though. Then you don't want to change your hero power with Murkleton.
Well,
Yes and no.
It's just different ways to play it. You
Yeah.
know, Murgleton is something where you can get something that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't draw him. And sometimes you're playing against a priest who plays a Death Lord, and that brings out your Murgleton, and then it takes away your option. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything, but it's just another way to play it. It's obviously not essential. We've been playing without Murgleton for a long time, so
Yeah.
and Patron's been super effective without him.
Yeah, so the 2 different styles of
Justicar
player
in this deck?
are realistically playing the deck with the Frothing Berserkers or not. That's kind of what you're looking at playing this deck list. Like, what's his name? Kibler plays it with Frothings, and Zen Style, a.k.a. Robert Wing, plays his with the Murgleton and the Berserkers, but some people are saying Orange's list is better with having the monkeys as kind of calming out damage. And, Eve, what did you say?
Do you have Justicar?
No, Justicar is way too slow for the list.
Okay.
Yeah, Justicar is great for control. You
Right.
kind of have a different... Basically, Patron to me is a different play style for Control Warrior. Because if I had to nail it down, I mean, it's obviously not aggro, but you are very much controlling the board with some very
mid-range?
creative combos. And
Mid-range
I guess
warrior?
it's mid-range, but the whole point of it is you're taking away your opponent's minions and, cycling up your board. at the
Patron
same
Warrior
time.
is only called that because Math Warrior went away when the Grim Patron existed. Like, this is basically...
I miss Math Warrior.
It is called Math Warrior for a reason. So, like, if you want to find the hidden meaning behind Patron, the reason why it's so difficult to play is because it's called Math Warrior. You have to add up a lot of stuff with your Frothing Berserkers and your damage and your Whirlwinds and all that.
I like Math Warrior.
So it's kind of realistically should be renamed Math Warrior because it's going back to old school Math Warrior now that the Warsong Commander's nerfed. But like I said, we're going to be talking about 2 discount decks of the week. So we're going to revisit a email, right?
Yeah, well, that's our non-talk about Patron Warrior.
That's our non-talk, yeah,
So,
exactly.
Our non-talk.
Very short for a non-talk.
Well, I
were
want to
you
give
gonna
people
visit
the
Zoo then,
capability
or-
of playing this deck if they want to look for something different, but I don't want to recommend that it be an easy deck to play.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily discount. You kind of have to like figure out what works. Our goal in bringing discount deck of the week is to bring you a deck that is popular, that people are playing, but want to give you some alternatives that we think you can use in order to play the deck semi-optimally, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Like, once you get all the cards, then you want to put them in and play it even better. But we can give you some substitutions that'll hold until you get the cards that you need.
You got it.
That's right.
All right, so Andrew, what was the other deck that we discussed in the last episode, like touched on in an email that we're going to kind of cover again?
Did we touch about Zoo last time?
I think we got like a pretty extensive email about it.
Did we? I
Okay.
can't even remember. Can you refresh my memory?
Basically, like, we talked through what the most popular zoo lists were and like how Demon Zoo's kind of gone away.
Right, Bran Bronzebeard. He was talking
Yeah,
about
he asked
taking out
about-
Bran because it was like sitting in his hand.
Right,
He wasn't
Gabriel
using it
emailed
for
us
one,
about
but he
that.
substitute.
Yeah.
Right, I remember now.
So I put Bran back in, and it's really good.
Really?
Like, turn 7, Bran Bronzebeard, Defender of Argus is tilting to have to play
Really
against.
Really good.
I even got a chance to play a Enhanso Mechano in place of a Dark Iron Dwarf, and it ended up winning me the game last night.
So, in Hansel Meccano with Bran out?
Not with Bran, but I got a chance to play it.
Because that would be crazy.
I got a chance to play it with like 4 minions on the board.
And Wind Fury and
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That would be crazy.
I will say that Enhanso is kind of like a different style of more of a tech card than Dark Iron, and I feel like Dark Iron is just better overall because it gives you a better body and it gives you generally a similar effect and more versatile than an Enhanso, but the surprise factor is so worth it sometimes.
I feel like you're always going to have a lot of bodies on the board with Zoo, right? Like, that's a big part of the deck.
Not entirely speaking. Like, you normally, when you're playing this list, your curve max out with Lotheb and the Doom Guards. Those are your highest cost minions. So, your minions are, your whole game plan is...
I saw Lotheb, I never saw any Doom Guards. That must be a different list than the ones I was playing against as Agrisham.
Okay. Yeah, this one is the list, like, to play. It's super fast. It kills people. It has a really good, decent win rate against
people, huh?
Like, if you're seeing Secret Paladins, that means lots of people are going to be trying to counter that with Freeze Mage, right? And if you play against Freeze Mage with this deck, you just win. Like, it's so hard to lose if you're playing Freeze Mage against Freeze Mage with this.
You have a decent chance.
So many times you get to outvalue them. I mean, because that's what the deck does so well. Better than maybe any... I mean, surely any other aggro deck, but maybe any deck, period. Other than maybe like Control Warrior and Priest. I mean, Zoo just does trading like crazy.
It does.
The one thing I will say about the deck that I was learning as I was getting coached on stream, which if you guys go to twitch.tv/NotRobMay and you go check the past VODs, I had a stream last night that I played a lot of patron games, and then I pulled Handboy into the call, who is a Vicious Syndicate high legend player. He's top 100, I think, right now, or he's pushing for top 100 right now in legend, and was coaching me on Zoo, and like he had me tap for like 4 or 5 turns when I didn't think I needed to tap.
Yeah.
Dang.
And he's like, that's how you're gonna win. He's like, you just need to keep throwing resources out.
What does Trump say? Fearlessly tap? Is that what he says?
The fearless tap, yeah. The problem was I don't like tapping against Druid because personally, if you tap too much against Druid, you're just dead. So Druid's one of your harder matchups.
They get their combo,
And Face Hunter.
Face Hunter can outrace you a lot of times.
They pull out 2 fireballs and an ice bolt thing, and
So I'll flip
Frostbolt.
So if you flip this on its head and you're playing Freeze Mage, right? And you're seeing this Zoo deck, you're like, well, crap, I should just concede. No, not entirely. You have to play Freeze Mage totally different when you're playing this matchup. Like, honestly, I would hold my burn, and I would, like, wait for them to commit more of the board, and then either Frost Nova or just play a Doomsayer like vanilla. Just leave it on the board. They're only going to be running 1 or 2 owls max, and you kind of just have to risk it. The other thing you need to be looking to do is just ignoring their board and shooting them in the face every turn.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how you win the game. You have to keep doing it. They're going to keep tapping. They're going to keep damaging themselves. And then you kind of wait for them to tap into a place where you can just start throwing burn. And that's how you win.
Yeah, Zoo is one of the cheapest decks out there for new players to play. And it has a lot of basic cards in it as well. So it's very achievable to make a very good Zoo deck quite easily, quite cheaply.
And for the people who have been playing for a long time, and maybe you have just been so resolved not to spend money, there's a good chance you have a lot of classic packs from weekly stuff and Tavern Brawls and stuff like that. The lists that I've been seeing lately are kind of old school. Like, there was sort of a change coming. Other than Dark Peddler, I don't think there's anything that's really new in there. You can run Bran, but it's all classic cards, really. Direwolf Alpha.
You can put Jiraxxus in it.
Jiraxxus.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I have seen Jiraxxus in it for end.
Really?
Yeah. For end, like, burn, I guess, burst.
Weird.
But I don't think it's necessary.
I need to see what's
I can't think of any other legendary besides Lotheb.
Yeah, some people run Lotheb.
Well, Bran is technically a legendary.
Or Bran, yeah.
Oh, right. But he's a League of Explorers.
Mm-hmm.
So
and Lotheb snacks.
Oh,
yeah,
that's what
exactly.
it is. The other thing that I was starting to run in this list was actually like a one-of Void Collar. And Void Collar can be pretty good in Zoo. I'm going to be really blunt. Like,
yeah.
You just put them on the board. You're like, oh crap, what kind of zoo is this? You're like running like traditional zoo, but you have like a void caller out, and they're like,
I've seen Void Caller.
I don't know what to do. Well, normally you play void caller in like a demon zoo, where most of the dust stuff is like demons. So you're running like a Mal'Ganis and a second void caller and other
Yeah,
stuff.
it's true.
They're like, what is going to come out of that thing?
Yeah, so they get
It's
terrified.
devastating.
In this case, it's only, like, the only one that they have in there is the charge one, right?
Yeah. Well, if you don't count Flame Imps and Void Walkers and Imp Gang Boss and, yeah.
Okay.
Lightning saying in the chat
So
that
no
you want
scary
Traxxas
ones.
out from the Void Collar. So
If
that
you can
defend
get it
our
out from the
Argus
Void
or
Collar
something.
and then you drop a
okay.
Defender of Argus, it's just you win. But
That's brutal.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that's a good one.
so, anyways, there's lots of different ways to play this deck, and there's lots of right answers for replacements. But the list that I'm running, and if you just want to tweet at me and ask for it, I can send it to you. It has 185 total dust cost if you
That's
have
like
the
nothing.
adventure cards. So
That's good. And yeah, if you're not sure, if you've been trying a zoo deck on your own, email it to us and we'll see if we can modify it for you.
sure.
Suggest some swaps.
It's one of those old decks that's been around since the beginning of Hearthstone.
It has,
And
yeah.
It hasn't changed too much, and it has a lot of basic cheap cards in it, so it's a
It's
really good one.
resurfacing because it's decent to pretty good against Druid, depending on what they draw, and it's really good against Secret Pally. It's kind of the only thing that they have a lot of trouble with in the early game and in the mid game, but their late game is kind of like just better. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to say, as aggro shaman, I was never scared of Paladin.
Aggro Shaman
Like,
was pretty
I
good for you
never
against
had-
Secret Pally.
Yeah, never had any problems with them. As soon as they bring out their challenger, I just stopped attacking them with minions and kept going face with my spells until I got them low enough to finish them off with my Doomhammer.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to pop the secrets, you can't do it on your turn. I'm not going to do it on my turn. What you going to do?
Right.
That's right.
All right, so let's get into our news section. So let's do that. Let me see if I can pull this up here. All right, so news this week is completely and utterly missing. Like, there's nothing that we've heard from Blizzard.
Which is suspicious.
And every time that they have gone on a 1 week or longer hiatus of not telling us anything, well, I guess it's probably not 1 week. It's probably 2 weeks by now, right?
Wait a minute. Did you guys see the tweet that they sent out about the brawl? Because that
Pirates
was very
versus
suspicious.
Pirates versus Demons versus Murlocs versus whatever the other one was.
Everyone was thinking that was because it was the day before Tavern
I thought it
Brawl
was just a
came out,
fun
that it was going to
thing.
be something about that. It could just be a fun thing.
Does
but
you
for
remember
me,
what they
it's
did
like,
for the
come
12
on.
days of Christmas?
No.
On the first day of Christmas? And then they
Oh,
had
yeah,
like
that-
a little...
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
They did those.
They had one thing for every day. And
That
it
was actually
like-
really cool.
Yeah, that was fun. So I just thought it was another like fun thing they were putting out there. Maybe
No.
other people jumped to the
No.
conclusion, but I never thought that. I thought it was just like, all right, so conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. That's what it was.
All right.
Oh gosh.
Gonna have to look this up and like revisit it and reanalyze it and try and figure out what it means.
Yeah. So, Andrew, why don't you say what you were gonna say about what you thought it was right out of the gate? That one tweet.
Oh, that tweet? I thought, well, because they came out with an artwork thing a while ago with like a Murloc pirate, and like it seemed like they were going to do some kind of sea expansion or something like that. It was a picture of a bunch of like different races playing Hearthstone on a boat, and they didn't make a big hoop. They like changed their Facebook profile or picture or something to that, and I think that would be a ton of fun, just having like a high seas kind of thing. You could add some kind of island effect or something, you know, and then just specialize in pirates. And actually, we can have some pirate decks that are worthy for the ladder. I can use my Sky Captain Crag and all that. So
Yeah.
I would love to see that. We're more than likely going to get an expansion announcement soon, just because they've been doing that cycle of expansion adventure, and yeah, we'll see when, we'll see what. But
So
I'm
that's
hoping
what I hope it is.
PAX is like.
do we want to
what,
revisit
next
the
week?
last time we got stuff? When it was?
When was it?
BlizzCon.
Yeah.
So BlizzCon was the last announcement, and we got it the week after BlizzCon.
Yeah, that was so hilarious.
So they're like, we're announcing a new expansion that you guys can check out, and it's coming later this month. And everybody's like, yay! Really excited. It's like, or no, they were saying this is the new expansion, and we'll be releasing it soon. And then they're like, oh, we're not just releasing it soon, we're releasing it later this month. And people are like,
Next-
what?
yeah.
And then they're
Losing
like,
their minds.
we're releasing it on Thursday. And they're like,
But then-
No, he was
then-
like, actually, later this week.
Yep.
Then LOE, they say, today we're announcing it, today we're showing you all the cards, and next week you get to start.
Yeah.
And I would love to... You guys remember for Goblins vs. Gnomes, they had that arena thing where the week before it was released, all the cards were in
Yep.
arena? I'd love if they said, today we're announcing it, and today in arena that's happening. Because it would just throw everyone off. You wouldn't have a chance, like 120, 130 cards, you wouldn't have a chance to know what they even are. So everyone would just be jumping in, trying stuff
Can
out.
you imagine
It would
if
be-
somebody was like under a rock and didn't know this is happening, and they queue into arena? They're like, "What is this card?"
so chaotic. It would be a lot of fun if they did that. So
But I mean, they have like I like that idea. I like it a lot. But the last couple of ones they've been doing, where they've been slowly releasing a card, like over here on this website, on this blog, with this different publications. Like they give them 3 that they can reveal, and like give a couple.
See,
So
I don't like
know.
that.
I mean,
They
I
were-
like your idea better, but that's just because then we get them all right now.
the hype train is fun too for a while, but it always feels so long and drawn out. I loved how LOE was fast, and with an adventure, it makes more sense because it's still a progression, and each week you're looking forward to new cards.
Do you guys
They had the
remember
week
how
of
they had
Christmas,
announced
broke up.
all of the cards prior? Like Nax, they told us almost like 3 months before it happened, and everybody was just
no,
like,
let's not do that. again.
"Please,
No.
just give us the cards." But
But I mean,
that's
I
what
think
they
they
did in that
learned,
one.
right? Because that's what they did
Yeah.
with LOE. They're like, here's all the cards, and you get to play it right away, like soon.
Right, and then
So-
like with GVG, they released like, I can't even remember. It was so slow. They're like 10 cards a week. It was like
Oh, yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
There
But
was
we're
this
like,
thing, was it what for
come
GBG
on.
where you had to vote? They'd like put 2 cards up and it'd be like, which one do you want to see?
They
And
did
it'd
that
be
for
a mage card and a
TGT.
warrior. Was
Yeah.
that TGT?
Yeah,
Oh.
TGT,
They
they
did
had
for
the
both.
voting.
They did it for both.
Okay, and then like for BlackRock, they released like what the cards were gonna be for the next wing, I think, or something like that. It was really weird how they released like BlackRock info, and then LOE was just like drop the mic moment. So
Yeah, so if that could be a change, right? They
Well,
know we loved that.
if there's
Got really
anything
to feed
consistent that they've done, is they've been inconsistently consistent.
Yes, but the times have gotten shorter, so I think they could go back to what they did with TGT, and just adventures are going to be that really fast turnaround. Because
be.
with 120 cards, they can get hyped for a while and probably get a lot of players looking forward to it, wanting to buy it, do some kind of pre-purchase thing like they did. That's most likely what they're going to do. But I just want it.
And it does give like different podcasts time to talk about the cards if they give them in little chunks where
Right.
you can kind of analyze them and think about them and the impact they're going to have on the game and stuff like that instead of
Right.
here's 120 cards. Then you
Yeah,
can't
so
even really take it all
so
in.
we all are in agreement that we think it's gonna be another pack-based expansion,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
All right,
There's
so
no reason it wouldn't.
So what is the theme?
well, Andrew has
Pirates
already got
versus-
his checks balanced, right? You wanted to be more of that sea archetype theme, right?
I mean, it's an idea. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be against them adding a couple more to existing, what would you call them, clans? Like a couple more mechs, a couple more murlocs, a couple more pirates, a couple more, just a kind of dragons to flesh out the ones we already have to make it a bit easier to make theme decks. That would be interesting.
I'm gonna kind of go out on a completely different limb
Go
and
for it.
just say what I want rather than what I think is happening. So I want Blizzard to give us another set of cards that first and foremost gives us a lot of very powerful, versatile, deck building help type cards that are common and rare. I want a lot of really good, versatile, common and rare cards that we can put into our collections and just say, new players, we want you to get classic cards because they're critical, so keep opening those packs. And then the newest expansion that we're releasing, these are going to be the biggest help to you. I think that them doing something like that, keeping the weekly pack rotation for Tavern Brawl going, and then focusing on something with Arena that lets you select which pack you want to get as a reward, or even lets you get a 2-pack reward, like you get an automatic classic pack and something else as a reward, I think is a great way for people to just continually pump up their collections over time, get the cards they need, and give them tools that help them make the sense of deck building and creation. I think they did a lot of that with League of Explorers, giving us these just mind-bending new mechanic and then new cards and stuff that just makes you think about deck building. Like, those are the cards that I want. I want us to get new deck building cards. And the second side of that is I want the cards to be the specific rarity as well, because I want new players to be able to have access to them like right out of the gate.
I
You
think
want a
that's
new
actually a
Mysterious
really
Challenger.
great idea.
Well, Mysterious Challenger's even an epic.
I think that's actually a really good idea. If they went so far and made like a card expansion and like an adventure and card expansion and adventure, and then in the middle of it did like a core card pack, which would be part of the basic cards, which would give players who have been playing for a while a reason to care about the Tavern Brawl free pack. Like if they have all their basic cards, they're like, well, now these are new basic cards. This is like a core card set that would be full of lots of basics and lots of rares, like you said. But if you open up basic packs, you would get them.
Well, see, like, I like the way that they already have basics and then you unlock more basics. I don't want more basic cards. I want them to give us
I mean, in the
existing
basic
cards.
packs. Like, you would be able to get them out of basic packs.
Okay, basic is actually classic.
Sorry, classic?
Classic.
Classic, sorry.
Yeah.
Using the wrong word. Classic packs. Yeah. This is kind of the way that every once in a while Magic the Gathering does a core set. Which
I just
takes,
think,
like,
what do you think about them, like, giving
pre-existing
you more
cards?
cards in a pack? Like, more cards per pack instead of the 5 cards is, like, just expanding the most cards into classic packs. Like, you get 7 or 8 cards per pack.
I think that regardless, we're getting to the point where there are enough expansions and adventures that they're going to have to start doing something with the older stuff to create a better on-ramp for newer or budget players. So it could be more cards per deck. That's an interesting thing. Or they could run a sale that as long as this next new expansion's out, GVG will be discounted somehow. Or they might even say Tavern Brawls, or not Tavern Brawls, Arena rewards are just going to be classic or a GVG from here on out or something like that.
Yeah, the other thing that could honestly work is even if they just made the 5 card packs to 6. One card, volume-wise, is a massive undertaking. A lot of UI stuff that they have to change. A big change. It gives you an additional percentage point of turning that card into an epic or a legendary every time you open a pack. Like, the statistics and the, I guess you could say, pity timer are kind of unrelated, right? But the statistics of individual opening of cards gives you better stuff.
I think that they're concerned about people, you know, taking advantage of different things to get dust and to...
Yeah. It gives people more dust if they get more cards that they don't have quicker.
Yeah. But they also want people to spend money on the game as well. They're running a business.
They
so-
do.
Right, which is why I'm saying only one card difference is kind of that one thing that they could change. And it doesn't have to be for all of the cards. I'm actually just pitching this only for Classic.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think that they do have new players in mind constantly, and they know that as they make more expansions and more adventures, new players have an even more intimidating time getting into the game, because you're starting and you're like, already there's this many cards in the game and this many cards that I have to try and get and craft and buy. And
Right.
so I think it would be very smart of them at this point, whatever they do with the next card expansion, to reach out to new players in some kind of way to make it easier for them to feel like they can catch up.
I'm just really glad, honestly, that we can sit here on a podcast, we can talk about it, we can submit our opinions, Blizzard will consider them, but at the end of the day, I am very confident Blizzard's going to make the absolute right decision for this.
Yeah,
It's gonna
for the
make
game
Hearthstone
overall
really good.
and including new players.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
care.
they've got that new team. Have you guys seen how big Team 5 is now?
No.
They have like
I've heard.
they went from like 10 people in year 1 in beta to like 50, and now they have like almost over 100 people on staff. And then they're hiring
And-
even more people in the casting role potentially within this next like release here.
It
Yeah, they're doing
explains
pretty
the length of time that between adventures and card expansions, is getting smaller. So that's encouraging. It's
I
exciting.
mean, Blizzard has done everything in their power thus far to make this an experience really fun for us, and has delivered on pretty much everything that they've said. The only thing that the people are upset about is when there are strong decks in the meta and that people don't like losing to them. That's when people get angry.
No tournament mode.
No tournament mode. I personally think it's
that's
okay to
gotta
not
come
have
soon,
tournament
too.
mode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also kind of think that a certain amount of attention should be paid to ladder. I don't think ladder is the best experience that it could be.
Oh yeah.
There's
Yeah.
definitely some things they could do to change the ladder experience, but I'm sure they're thinking of that as well.
Yeah, I think that going back to the expansion, I think they're going to ship the next expansion with more deck slots based off of what I was looking for would be another
Right.
thing. Because if they're going to promote deck building, they need to come up with a new UI setup for... Basically, they have to revamp their whole UI setup on how you build cards and experience Hearthstone as still a good thing.
And they will.
They'll
Yeah.
do it.
They're
I
really
think.
good at it.
They said it's in the works for at least 2 months, and they're going to deliver on it very soon. So...
Okay, so the other thing is D2. Who's D2?
Okay, so our other big announcement for this week, there is a caster challenge that you guys are aware of that Cora, one of our guest stars and hosts of Coin Concede podcast, got basically won that casting invitational thing. So she's going out, and
That
Kevin
was so
Hovdestad-
amazing. If she's listening, I just want to shout out to Cora and say congratulations. Great
Seriously.
job. I'm so
a big
excited that
deal.
you're
I
a part of it
rewatched
now.
her video too. It was awesome.
Female caster.
Yes, and a good player, not just like,
Yeah.
oh, we're just gonna pull a random girl that plays Hearthstone.
No,
Like,
no.
she's really
No,
good.
no.
She's earned it. She has the chops. She's doing a great job. Awesome.
And then Kevin Hovdestad, which is also another high legend or repeat legend player from Met, is going to be at the NA one. But of the EU players going, or not EU players, but EU casters, D2, who is, if you go back to the very first World Championship finals of Hearthstone when they were even doing like last hero standing, D2 was in the final 16, I believe, maybe even top 8 or top 4. Players. He's from Japan but plays on NA and is an APAC player. So he lost to Kano, who actually made it this year to BlizzCon and was in like top 4 or something nuts. And said Kano was like amazing player. And he's one of the guys who got to like top 4 with Shaman, no less. Like traditional Shaman,
is
not face
tough.
Shaman. So we're really excited that he was agreeing to come on the show, and the show will actually be the weekend after the Winter Championships. That next week on Friday or Saturday, we haven't figured it out yet. We're gonna have the show, and D2 will be on the show with us.
Exciting.
And we
Hype.
could potentially, we might have a guest next week. I'm working out some more details. I'm not going to tell you who. It will
Maybe
be
keep that a secret.
it will be a less known guest, so you don't get your hopes too high. But he
Way to undersell it.
he
What do you
is.
mean? We're not putting anyone on the show who's not valuable. Come on.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's a well-known person, but he's a valuable person that I've got actually coaching from. So he might come on the show. We'll kind of figure it out with his schedule. So yeah, that's our big announcement. And our second big announcement is Patreon just revamped their whole creation page. So I'm going to sit down and probably talk with Eve and Andrew over the course of this next week through our internal chats about what we want to do for you guys.
Merchandising.
We could be expanding into like merch. We might. Well, I've been looking into getting T-shirts. I don't know how we want to do that. We'd have to get like a bunch of emails.
Not all
and
who wander on the ladder are lost.
I'd have to come up with a good pricing point for it. I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, it's gonna be a pretty big undertaking. But if you guys are interested in shirts, email us. Let us know what a good price point for you guys would be.
Would you wear a Valen's Chosen shirt?
Yes, that's the first question.
Would that be something you would be interested in? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know
In the
colors,
comments below.
right?
colors, phrases. If you want the brand, we'll probably do definitely a brand shirt. What was the other thing we were talking about? Oh, we might even link this with our Patreon. So like, if you guys support us on Patreon, I might make a Patreon exclusive shirt. I think that would be pretty cool. Like, we have one shirt that we just sell in the merch store, and then one just for Patreon supporters of a certain dollar amount.
We'll sign it.
We'll sign it. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
That
hard.
would be really hard because we can't like ship it 3 times and then ship it to you with a signed version.
That'd be
So,
really
all
pricey.
right.
I don't.
The show's going a little long, but we'll address our email here, and then we'll get to special thanks. So let's run this here. We got emails. So emails and thank yous.
Thank you.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Right. So Eve, why don't you read this email?
Edwin
Van Cleef?
from Edwin.
Yay! Oh.
What?
Oh.
Hey
Black
guys,
dogs.
it's coming to the end of another month and closing in on the last days to climb the dreaded ladder. I was wondering what you find people think of the difficulty. More specifically, do you think that the ladder rewards have made the climb to legend harder? I was pondering this the other day, as it seems like the meta is all over the place, and it is hard to tech against decks. I know that LOE and the ever-expanding card base continues to grow, but I also know that now it doesn't matter where you leave off at the end of the month, because you will still get your highest rank reward at the end of the month. This will let people stay on the ladder longer, giving them a better chance to level up and also increase their skill level. I know that now I definitely play a lot more ladder due to this. Does the increase in amount of players make the ladder harder? Also, do you think that the level of players are increasing as well due to staying on the ladder longer? Keep up the great work. Love the podcast. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think possibly it's also just due to how long Hearthstone has been around now. The longer it's been around, the more the skill level of the players is going to be increasing over the time. I know Hearthstone continues to get new players all the time as well, but the longer it's around, the better people will get, the higher people will be getting. Like, hopefully you just continue to get better and better the longer you play Hearthstone. So you're going to be getting the entire player base slowly moving up and getting better and better at it. I agree that I've been playing longer on ladder than I did before, because I did get scared. I would be like, I don't want to drop down at this point, so I'm going to stop playing and just like freeze out. And now that I know that I'm going to keep my highest rank chest, I'm like, well, maybe I'll try a little bit longer. I'll try to get a bit higher. So yeah.
Andrew?
I think the only other thing to consider is that people also don't play as much because of that. So when I get to, I got to rank 4 and I got a couple days left, so I bounced back down. Am I really going to go much higher than that? Probably not. So for me, I'll probably focus more on Arena. I might play some other games. So that's the only other thing I would say, is that I think in some ways the reward incentivizes you to play other things. So it's kind of a give and take.
Is it like 5? Is 5 where you get the best chest?
I know
Until you hit legend.
I know
yeah.
for 5
It's like
and
5 or legend?
Yeah.
I think it gets the gold that you might get, or
Yeah. The gold and the
something
dust
gets
factors a
incrementally.
little bit, but that's it. The card quality is the same, and the card back you always get.
So I'm pretty confident that I can get up to level 5 each season. So now that I've hit 4, it's like, well, I could try hard and maybe get to 3 or 2. But is it really worth it to me? I don't know. I might just want to play some Arena instead, because a lot of other people are going to be trying hard.
Contrary
I think
to
that's gonna
that,
make it
I'm going to
only-
be grinding because I only hit 9. Like I'm gonna try to
There you
hit
go,
5.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do know that there are some people that just play to get 20, so
Yeah.
they can get their card back. You know.
So what do you guys think about the level of difficulty, though? Let's address that question.
Um,
I think
I
the
th-
more people, the harder it's going to get when you get up in the ladder. More people at the bottom of the ladder actually makes it easier because they're probably less skilled. So if there's a bigger pool down there, you're good. If there's a bigger pool up here, you're actually in trouble. So somewhere in the middle, it doesn't matter as much.
I will say for me, I'll put one little like kink in this system. Over time, as players gain experience playing more, you're gonna be a better player, even if you stink. The more you play the game, the more experience you get, and even if you're not like doing anything to learn on your own, you're just playing the game, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn stuff that doesn't work. You're gonna learn how to lose worse than you did before. So you're like, well, I'm just not
Yeah.
gonna do that again. So overall, the more people will play, the better they will get at a very base level. But aside from that, I don't think that that is necessarily making the ladder harder, but it makes the ladder harder right now, I think is probably linked with the unpredictability of what you're going to be seeing and the ability to play against it. It's really hard to play. Like, decks are becoming more fine-tuned for everything as opposed to fine-tuning it for, like, 3 decks and just, like, I'm going to beat those 3 decks every single time. Like, Secret Pally, Druid, and Zoo. If I see those, my deck is good against all 3 of those. And then you play against Freeze Mage, and you just always lose. So right now, there's, like, 7 different decks that you can be seeing at any one time from rank 5 up. And then you get those games that Andrew's talking about where you're playing against, like, Grinder Mage. You're like, well, crap, I just lose. You know?
I don't want to play.
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. And I think it was Reno, honestly. I think Reno did it. As soon as that card was made and was released into the ether, people's brains exploded.
Yeah.
They were like, all the ideas, all the possibilities, all the things I could put in this deck. And then it just kind of, it spread out into other decks, which were like made to combo that, and the creativity.
You can play Reno in anything now.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle once it's out.
Or the Ginny. Or Genie.
But the genie, good one.
Oh,
whatever.
gosh.
And yeah, it's just, I wouldn't want it to, honestly. When all you were running up against on ladder was the same 3 decks, we didn't like that. That was boring. That made Hearthstone stale. We complained about it. I mean, we're complaining now because we can't win, but
We're going to
not
find
bored.
something to complain about. We're a Hearthstone community.
You're not bored. Like, you might be frustrated because you cannot predict what they're going to play next, but it's definitely not boring. So
Yeah. All right. Let's read another. We'll go into the thank you section. So, Andrew, why don't you read Croven's email here?
Yeah. Croven just wanted to update from my last email. I cracked rank 9 today. Way to go. I've
Congrats!
actually mostly been playing a similar aggro shaman deck to the one you described. I will +1 the fact that you really want 2 do hammers in that deck. So if you still don't believe Rob, Eve, and I, take it from Crovan if you want to. He says, I started with Whirling Zap-O-Matics, but run Flame Jugglers now. The Wind Furies were good to bait spells, and coining them out against the Secret Pally often works due to their lack of removal. But I've seen loads of other aggro decks, so the Flame Jugglers have worked nicely. Keep it up. No Crovan, you keep it up, because you're doing
Glad
well.
we could help. I looked at those Zap-O-Matics too. I was like, that could really be helpful, but yeah, the Flame Jugglers have worked out for tempo, for having something to play on different turns when your mana's kind of janky. So
Yeah, I took out my oozes too, or my one ooze, or acidic swamp ooze that I was
yeah,
running
I
one.
don't.
Oh, did
It
you?
just wasn't good
Yeah.
enough. I think I'd rather have, like, every time I play it, I'm like, okay, would I rather have this in my hand than a juggler? And most of the time the answer is no. So, yeah. But we have a new Patreon supporter. So very cool to hear from a new person that is supporting us. We really appreciate it. So Eve, why don't you let everyone know who our Patreon supporters are this week?
Gabriel and Pratap.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us how to pronounce your name so we don't butcher it on the show. Because I have
Give
no
us a
clue how to
phonetic.
say it.
Maybe he's a Warlock player and he's like a pro tapper, so he was like pro tap, you know?
Tap.
I don't know. That's probably not true, but
It's
we really
possible
appreciate it.
that it's a different. What was the word I'm looking for? A different race? No.
Yeah. But basically,
Like
we want to reemphasize that with the Patreon, we're just trying to make the show better. So at this point, we're basically breaking even almost on the
Just
costs
about.
that we just have to have in order to create the show that we do. But anything that's supported on there is just going to help to make the show better. So we're not looking to turn an extra buck on this. But if you like what we do and want to support it to help us make it better, we'll always keep going.
We also recognize the paradox of asking budget players for money. So
Yeah, it's a good investment, though, I
Expectations
guess.
are low, people.
yeah, like throw us $1 a month is like I'm very happy camper.
Don't
So
spend any money on Hearthstone, but pay us.
all right, so I just double checked live on the show, and we actually have one new iTunes review, and I'll read it since I have it pulled up. So Zeroshio from Hero Power gave us a 5-star
Oh,
review.
what up?
So thank you so much, Zeroshio. He says, amazing show concept, 5 stars. This show introduced me to the idea of the budget player, and the advice and opinions are very helpful and informative. I consider myself what they call an old school Hearthstone player. But the podcast is information that I find useful. So quickly becoming one of my top listened Hearthstone podcasts. Thank you guys. Zeroshio, co-host of Hero Power. So thank you, Zeroshio. We really appreciate that. Yeah. Props to those guys over at
Podcast
Hero
love.
Power. They're doing they're a fairly new podcast. They released, I believe, within the first 5 weeks that we released our show, they had their first show. So we're pioneering the same trail together. Their show's a little bit more of a relaxed feel. They kind of have the emphasis on the fun, and I
And
think
they
that
do have fun.
they have a lot of fun most of the time. They have a lot of more of a banter on their show, but they don't really have a specific direction. I think they always like to feature a deck of the week too, so it's kind of a fusion between Angry Chicken and maybe like Hearth Coach. So
The ones I'd like to listen to are like, it kind of sounds like friends are just chatting about a game that you enjoy. You
Right.
know, like listening to people talk about something that
Right.
you're interested in.
the other big thing that they do is they'll actually run a couple games in the post show on their live show, and their shows are right around 45 minutes. So if you guys like shorter shows, kind of like ours, you can do that. But not today because our show's long. So here's how you
Sorry
guys can
about
get
that.
involved with the show. You guys can give us an iTunes review just like Zeroshio here did. We really, really appreciate it. It is the absolute best way to support the show, 100%. It gives us more exposure than Patreon will ever do. Patreon is your way to tell us that you love us and appreciate us. Even if it's just a quick follow, we actually see who follows us. So if you just want to go on Patreon, hit follow button. Really appreciate that. We'll give you the links in a few minutes. You can share us with your friends. You can steal their phones and go to the iPhone app or a Stitcher app and just hit download and hide it away. That would be really fun. You can chat with us on
And then
Twitter.
they'll find it and say, what?
What's that?
And then they'll find it and they'll be like, what is this? And then they'll start listening and say, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to listen to this.
Yeah. So you can do that, and then you can play Hearthstone with us or Destiny with Eve. We really appreciate it. I know that we said this before, but we really want to offer some sort of coaching, especially if you're more of like on the downturn of the ladder. Don't ask me because I'll just get you to lose. So you just ask Andrew and Eve because they're better players than I am this month. So
Maybe
That's
you
not
need to
true,
do
though.
what Andrew did and go away for a while and come back when you love Hearthstone again.
I considered it, but I had a tournament on Saturday, aka tomorrow. So
You
not an
gotta get
option.
ready for that. It's all good.
But yeah, and then please email us any questions or any good news type stories that you guys are having. Good luck on the ladder or questions you have for deck text.
Crazy game stories. That'd be cool.
And we'll take some crazy game stories in our sections as well. We've started doing that recently. So Andrew, why don't you give our players the links, as it were, where they can find us?
You can find us on Twitter at Valen's Podcast, Facebook, Valen's Chosen Podcast. Email us at valenceschosenpodcast@gmail.com, patreon.com/Valen's Chosen. our website is valenschosen.com. You can find us on YouTube at the blobbity blah link.
Yeah, it's a really long link in this description.
Yeah. Or we stream on Twitch on Rob's stream, which is not Rob May. We're also on iTunes, RSS, and Stitcher. And check out Esports Hero. Use the code ValensChosen15 and you get bonus money, which we all like.
That's right.
Free money, 5,000 coins.
All right, Eve, tell the people how they can reach you and the specific way in which they have to do it.
Cassinet is giving you a hard time in the chat.
Yeah, he is.
I know. I deserve it. I threw him under the bus last week.
But he also said he would buy a shirt.
It's not because of me.
That's fair.
So there's like giving Rob a hard time, buying a shirt to support the show.
We didn't even need to put bloopers in the show. This whole show's a blooper. Blooper?
Me. Where can you find me? You can find me on Twitter at Finnovar, FHINNOVARR, on Twitch at Eve Martin, MARTYN. And Battle.net, yeah, if you ask for it on Twitter, and I believe that you are a good person. No, don't take that personally.
You have to pass the test.
I will check you out. If you pass, I will give you my Battle.net. If you have a PS4,
submit your background checks to
because those are the
ValenChosen.com.
only people I can play with, then I can play with you on Destiny. If you are interested in that, they have the Iron Banner out this week, so need people to play with. Yeah, I'm Eve Martin on the PlayStation Network.
Sweet.
So check me out there.
Andrew.
Where can we find you, Andrew?
I'm on Twitter at Andrew's Living. You can check out some arena tips on YouTube if you search for Banaka Freak. See my lovely mug telling you do this and do that and blah, blah, blah.
Have you updated that recently?
No, I haven't. I realized I got to stop saying that I think I'm going to and then not do it because that's really bad. So
Raising expectations.
It's on
But
my
you've been
mind.
playing a lot of arena. Every time I go on, it's like Andrew is living is in arena.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? I think I've played more ladder this week, but I have definitely. I go to arena if I'm doing bad on the ladder. I'm like, forget that. I'm over here doing my thing.
I've been
and you
like
can find
kind
it-
of in a competition with you without you knowing it. Like every time I log on and I'm like, where's Rob? Where's Andrew? Oh, damn it. I have to work hard and catch up.
Sorry about that. And my Battle.net is Andrew's Live number 1973. Shout out to the people who have been adding because they've all been really cool. And that's a quick way to throw a shout out like, hey, enjoy the show. And that always really means a lot whenever we get one of those. And I try to jump in games every now and then, watch you, see how you do, especially if I got a spectator quest because I'm a giver and want my pack. So what about you, Rob? Where you at?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at NotRob. You can find me on Battle.net. I changed my Battle.net tag this week. So it is... I switched everything over to NotRob, and I'm no longer Twick on Battle.net. So it's just NotRob1514. You can find me on Facebook at NotRob Media. That's my digital online portfolio thing for photography, design, etc. You can find me on Steam, where you can smash me in some really easy games for Rocket League at Sir Twick. You can find me on Twitch. I sometimes stream. I'm trying to stream once or twice a week in addition to the show on this exact Twitch feed, which is twitch.com/notrobmay. And you can check the VODs for all the shows there. Make sure you check on YouTube because we'll upload the shows there if you'd like to get it that way. And I think that's it for all of us on the show this week. We really appreciate everyone that listens to the show. We appreciate everyone that leaves reviews and emails. Thank you guys so much for such a great experience. We're topping our all-time record of numbers as far as listener base today, and we couldn't be happier. So thank you guys so much for participating with us. And yeah.
It always blows us away whenever we see how much people love the show and how many people listen to it. It just makes us really happy. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Adieu, adieu. Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Well, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining Exodar with us this week.
Later.
Bye.
Take this time to consider your past deeds.
Stop asking questions. You had your chance. Did I miss it?
My face!